unless it's fluff.
Fluffing.
Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon. Listen in as him and other members of the J Harmon Home Team speak about all things real estate with local experts here in the Middle Tennessee area. Be sure to check out jharmonhometeam.com for more information and how to get in touch with our amazing team. Welcome to the show.
And we are live, right, Trent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was still jotting down some notes. Anyway, it happens sometimes. Welcome to This Week in Real Estate. I am Jonathan Harmon. We are the J Harmon Home Team. I've got my friend and colleague and ops boss and expert on Jonathan Harmon, Miss Michelle Reeves. Oh, I was hoping for the button.
That was
We don't have the button.
No button.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
we'll get the button next time.
I'll
So
have
anyway,
Tim post.
darn
our
it.
live studio audience is very quiet today. It's still early. We should have given them more coffee.
More coffee.
Yep.
Yes.
So anyway, I've got Michelle here from the J Harmon Home Team. She's been with me now about a year and a half, year and a quarter.
Maybe.
Yeah, I wrote 1.25. Is that about right?
That's about correct.
See, look, I wrote it.
I know.
Yeah.
Look at you.
know. So we're gonna.
Hashtag succeeding.
That's right. She's made it past the year mark, folks.
Woo!
We are going to talk about kind of a different perspective of the real estate market, the perspective of somebody that's in the industry but is not a licensee. And Michelle, one of the things we hear a lot, like there's kind of like personalities that go with the various roles within the industry. Leslie Tate from Gateway, I was here and we were talking about this. And the agent, the real estate agent, is the perennial optimist, right? So they're either super optimistic about things or they're really pessimistic about things.
I could see that.
Rarely are they middle of the road. And then the lender is kind of
It's because agents don't have time for gray area.
no, we don't. But the lender's kind of the analyst. It's like and the hand wringer a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, markets are going to do this, and rates are going to do this, and sometimes they're very optimistic as well.
Right.
And some of them are even more optimistic than their agent friends. And then the title companies are kind of like, just give me a contract and make sure it's complete, and we'll find the problems and fix them. And I love that. So anyway,
But we need all those types.
we
for
do,
sure.
and balance is important, right? And so what I'm interested in hearing is from the perspective of the person that is behind the scenes, the person that is not actively prospecting every single day, that is not the public like face of the team necessarily, but yet you see everything, right? All the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, in the scenes, whatever. I'm really interested to ask you a few questions and kind of get your perspective on that. And I think our viewers are too, because you bring a different picture, a different perspective to the team. So it's gonna be fun. Let's talk about you for a second. So you're involved in all kinds of stuff, way before you ever joined this team and even now. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, before I before I worked for J Harmon Home Team, I did everything basically. I produced an internationally heard podcast called Rebel Sage Perspectives. I still do the podcast, as you know. It's more of a hobby. Like, for example, I haven't recorded anything since I think last December.
hmm
And it's just a matter of juggling the time and. Um, I'm in Rutherford Cable. I'm a member of that. I'm not.
What's cable? Tell us about that.
Cable is a local women's group that it's women in business, women supporting women in business, that sort of thing.
hmm
We have speakers once a month. We at a breakfast meeting. It's really cool. There's a lot of good going on in that room
hmm
when we have the meetings. And then the other thing that I do that I absolutely love is I'm a Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce diplomat. And diplomats are we're kind of the collective face of the Rutherford County Chamber.
Mhm.
And I was saying in the pitch at the chamber, um, I love doing the diplomat thing because I have been a Rutherford County cheerleader forever. Like, I have been even when I wasn't in real estate, I pay attention to the growth, what's going in, what demographics they want to open their business in our county.
Mhm.
There are a couple stores that we may not ever get, which is kind of depressing, but like Whole Foods, the mean income or the median income must be, or maybe it's individual, it's $100,000 per year.
Mhm.
And on average, Rutherford County isn't that.
Right.
So, like, Whole Foods may not ever come here. I'm a huge fan of James Avery jewelry. That's my growing up in Texas coming out, big thing in Texas. I called them their corporate office a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I was like, "Would you consider Rutherford County? Would you consider Murfreesboro?" You know, we're the county seat where we've got a lot of growth. We are similar to Frisco, Texas, like 15 or 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And Frisco is like its own little metropolis outside of Dallas. And I kind of feel like Rutherford County and Murfreesboro are headed that direction. And again, I'm not a licensed agent. This is not any kind of official like I've said it so it's Bible. This is just really my opinion just from what I've seen and paying attention to things going on. Um, and I pay attention to the little things like, okay, why are we redoing Franklin Road? Like all the way out to veterans. I mean, obviously, we've got considerably more traffic in
Mhm.
that area of town now. So, compared to when I moved here in like 2002, 2003, something like that, um, it's grown. Like where my house is now, it was field.
Right.
Like the only thing out there for the longest time was the Publix.
Right. Well, and I think so. One of the things that Murfreesboro has done pretty well, I think, as far as growth management, is they have um, predicted and then sort of self-fulfill prophecy kind of thing with where they want growth to go, you know? And so when
Yeah,
they built Veterans Parkway, however long ago that was, people looked at them like, there's nothing out here,
there's
y'all. I mean,
nothing out
there is
here.
literally nothing out here. Why in the world are we building this
Oh,
massive
it was
road?
so good to have the road already there
Yeah.
when the growth happened.
Well, and it was like Field of Dreams, right? They
Yeah,
built it
built it
and
and they
people
will
came.
come.
Yeah. And that's definitely happened. And I think Murfreesboro has a plan. I think Rutherford County has a plan. I know Smyrna has a plan where they're saying, okay, our next boundary, our next growth, and they kind of do they're not really circles because the town's not perfectly circular,
Projections.
but kind of
Mhm.
these concentric rings. And there's okay, the next
Right.
phase of growth for our urban area is here. And then they build the road and then and then people go there.
So I learned something new, and this is probably not new to anybody else who is in real estate, but like in our area. But like, I didn't know we had sections. I didn't know like that the gateway, the gateway area, and there's like a gateway overlay area and I was like, what does that" I don't really know what that means, but I
Mhm.
learned about it kinda recently, and I was like, "Whoa." So the person I was talking to, they were like, "See that tree line right there?
It has to
If
be there.
if my store was on the other side of those trees, I would not be governed by the rules in the gateway
Yep.
overlay." And I was like, "Oh."
And they some of those overlays, the gateway, the downtown core, some of those overlays,
Right.
they will get down to quite literally which variety of boxwood you
It
have to plant, not
it
can plant, have to plant in this spot.
it cost him more than double what it normally costs to get one of his stores up and running,
Mhm.
more than double,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Wow." And so, because they were so stringent, he's probably not going to build another store in Murfreesboro,
Mhm.
and
But
because I mean,
but
it
it's
was so
interesting because
picky,
the same if he's in the Gateway area, the same exact place on the other side of town,
won't bring in as many
it
dollars.
won't bring in as many, but it also won't
Yeah,
cost nearly as many, right? And so
right,
because it's not in the same overlay.
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty interesting how that but that's all purposeful, right? And
mhm,
they want a certain look and they want a certain feel for those
exactly,
areas, certain sight lines, all of those kind of things.
right.
And so that's why they do that. Let's talk about real estate for a second. Just over a year in the business, back in the business, you were briefly in it in a different capacity,
Yes,
um,
very different capacities,
multiple years ago,
right,
10 plus years ago.
20 plus year well, 18, I guess,
Yeah.
but
What are some surprises? What are some things that looking back now, you got a year under your belt, a little over a year. What are some things that coming into it you thought one way and now you're a year in and yeah, you're surprised? Or maybe not even surprised, but it didn't meet what you thought, the expectation at the beginning.
I think okay, so I really enjoyed being in real estate in the capacity that I was in before because my background is marketing and public relations and communications, and that's where I'm successful. I'm truly a creative. If you look up creative in the dictionary, you will see my picture.
Mhm.
And in my previous position in real estate, I was doing those types of things, and there were protocols, and this is how we do it, and, we do it this way for a purpose because it works and it alleviates further issues. And now, like, in my current position, which has changed dramatically since I've started, um, it's more like and I'm not saying this is, like, as a bad thing at all, but, like, there aren't as many protocols, and the things that have protocols, aside from contracts, I'm not talking about that,
Sure.
but, like, as far as the work and stuff, the protocols that I work with now are protocols that I came up with and ran by you, and you were like, "If it works and gets the job done, let's do it."
Mhm.
So I have more control over my work than I thought I would,
Mhm.
which is cool. I like that. I wasn't real sure what to do with that at first because, you know, my positions before we started recording, I was telling you that I'm a little more traditional in a lot of regards than people ever expect me to be.
Mhm.
They talk to me and they're like, "Oh, she's unique, she's creative, whatever." But in my work, in my job, I want there to be protocols. I want to look at a list and
Follow a
go,
formula.
yes. Today, we picked the hero and the teacher. By the way, you guys can nominate those on jharmonhometeam.com.
Great.
Um, but like we pick on this day, I contact them to set up deliveries on this day each month. I like having that protocol.
Sure.
And I understand the nature of our business is a lot of turn on a dime. We get here, we do this, we turn on a dime. It's like one of those books, like from childhood, where you
Choose your own
read and you
adventure.
pick
Yeah.
one of the 2
Yeah.
things and go
Should
with
we
that.
open the door? Go to page 7. Should
Oh,
we turn around and
yes.
run? Go to page 9.
And
Yeah.
that's how it is a little bit,
Yeah.
it's like, "Okay." And sometimes I feel like I'm just winging it and hoping for the best, and as you know, I'm not always comfortable with that
Mhm.
because I'm like, what if I mess it up? And in the beginning, Jonathan, you had to keep saying, it's not the end of the world. Just go forward and we'll figure it out.
Well, and so one of the things that I've learned over the years, and I'm curious your take on this is, and I say I've learned this. One of the things that's always fascinated me about this business is you can meet someone and your initial thoughts are, "Oh, this person's going to do a fantastic job at this job, right? At
Yeah,
my job, my part
sure.
of it." And then 6 months into it, they've done nothing, right?
I
Or
felt like I did that.
or 6 months into it, they've far exceeded what you thought that they were capable of doing.
Right.
And so I guess from your perspective, what do you think it is that dictates somebody's success or failure in this business
Um,
on this side of it?
okay, well, I can't really speak for everybody else, but for me, um, I struggled at first. I was doing a lot of things. You wanted me to learn the contract side of stuff, and I was really there are so many details. And this form goes with this, but if you use this form, you also have to use this form. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is squashing my creative brain. Um, but my pivot point was you started saying, "Hey, design some social media stuff for us to post." And I hit my groove because I was like, "Oh, I can do this all day long. It's creative. I love it. I liked coming up with the protocol for the Hero and Teacher Award." Um, I took ownership of it. That was the difference. And I'm a firm believer in only you. Y Only me. I am the only person in charge of my destiny and my future.
Mhm,
So if I choose, and it is a choice, whether it's a conscious choice or an unconscious choice, you choose how you go through every single day. It's a choice. You can't blame it on, "Oh, I got up on the wrong side of the bed." No, you didn't. You got up and you were in a mood and you made the choice to stay in that mood. Now I'm not perfect and I don't choose shiny happy every single day because sometimes you get up and everything's on top of you and you've got the kids and you've got to figure out what's for dinner and lunch and all that. But for me, it's taking ownership. And that's what I did. I just you always have made me feel like part of the team, even when I was like, "Well, it's just me." I'll hide in the corner, I'll put myself at the back, I'll put myself at the end, I won't include myself, I did that a lot at first, I don't know if you
mhm.
remember that, but at some point, and I don't know exactly when it was, but it was like all the puzzle pieces came together, and I was like, "No, he really does appreciate me, and, he appreciates the job I'm doing, and, we do trial and error a lot. If we try it and it doesn't work, we don't do it again."
Yeah, and I think one of the things that will, so if I'm at home watching this and I'm like, okay, considering getting into real estate, maybe I'm not going to join a team, maybe I am going to join a team, but um, how am I going to know? How do I feel comfortable leaving my regular job, right, and going into this, and how can I guarantee my success? And I think number one, you can't,
You
right?
can't.
You can't guarantee it. Number
Mm-mm.
two, I think one of the most deciding factors is a person's ability to try something, a person's ability to launch. And I know so many people in all facets of this industry that will sit on their hands and overanalyze and keep thinking about what if and how would I do this and how do I set this up? How do I make it perfect
I do
before.
that, but you've gotta come to a point where you're like, "I've gotta jump in the water,"
Well, and I
if you're
think I
gonna.
think that's the key
Yeah.
is sometimes, and this is contrary to what people might think about me, sometimes good enough is good enough to start.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then good enough is good enough to start means that you don't like stop there, right?
Yeah, no, you keep going.
But good enough is good enough to start. And and a lot of people just they can't do that. And they're afraid that they're going to embarrass themselves by starting something that they're going to then have to turn around and immediately edit. Well, I would rather start something and edit along the way than
Yeah.
continue to edit for months and months and months and never make any progress.
And since we're on this subject, I really wanna give props to our 2 new agents.
Yeah.
Jonathan's not paying me to say this, by the way. Um, Shannon Hesley and John Michael Robinson are doing a fantastic job,
And they're not afraid to start.
and they're not afraid. They're doing it, they're jumping in, they're doing what they need to do. You
Yeah.
have to do the work. Real estate is not an industry, especially for agents, um, where you can get into it and then just go, "Oh, I'm good."
Yeah. And
Because if you do that now, that's gonna affect you in a month or 2.
well, and I think a lot of people have a strong misconception of what we actually do from a career building standpoint, right?
Yes,
Like
right.
I think most people understand what the core of the job is,
Sure.
right? Like
Yeah.
we're gonna be somebody's advocate. We're gonna show them houses. We're gonna help through the buying process. There's a lot of intricacies to that, or we're gonna help
Right.
through the selling process, whatever. But I think that, and that is a task, but that is not the career, right? And the
Right.
career is significantly more of being top of mind and occupying people's that little sliver of brain space that is dedicated to a real estate agent, right? You want to be the only person in there.
Right.
And that's hard.
That is hard.
That's hard.
I really and this is as a person who works in real estate but isn't licensed and an agent. Um, you have to be in the community. You have to be in the community. You can't just make your calls or send flyers to or, mailers to people and then sit back and go, "Cool, they're gonna get my mailer and they're gonna call me up."
Right.
Dude, I have thrown away so many of those flyers, and I'm just like, "I don't need an agent. Why do I need this agent?" You have to keep going. You have to be in the community. Get
Mhm.
your name out there, shake hands, be face to face with people,
Mhm.
establish a connection, a human connection. You have the same birthday, you have the same kind of dog, you like to hang out at Cedar Glade Brews,
It's a
whatever.
good spot.
Yeah, it is a
I'm a
good
fan.
spot.
Yeah.
Um, but that's my thing. I see sometimes that people do part of it but then they miss that part.
So that brings me to a question. I'd love to get your perspective on this. One of the things that has always plagued me. I mean, I got in the business in 2009, and I used to teach it at MTAR. And one of the things that I would teach my students at MTAR, but yet I struggle with this myself, right? So do as I say, not as I do,
It
is
happens.
very much so. It doesn't make me a hypocrite. It just makes me a human. Okay, is it's easy to look at someone that you perceive as a successful agent, right? And be like, oh man, they got all their stuff together. They've got a beautiful website. Their social media is consistent and meaningful and punchy. They've got they sit down and make phone calls, however many hours every single day. They're prospecting calls. They've got all this stuff together. And as somebody that doesn't necessarily have all that stuff together, a brand new agent, or even me, like there are times where we're a little scattershot with some of the initiatives that we there's a great idea and then we implement and then we don't,
Right.
right? It's easy to kind of stress yourself out and think that you're behind, right? Like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god, such and such just did this new website, they just did this new whatever, whatever."
yeah,
And, it's difficult. Well, a lot of agents, their first step is social media. They especially a younger agent,
it's because we're comfortable with that and it's easy.
social media is not enough, though.
Oh,
And
I
and I
agree.
and I know
Yeah,
some agents that are spectacular at social media, but they're struggling.
right.
Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think it is that I mean, they make the best reels, they make them, the funniest stuff, and they're social media stars, but they're not selling any houses.
Because I'm weird and I pay attention to random things like this. Um, again, it's not there's no human connection. You're throwing something out there, they're getting an onslaught of things that are grabbing their attention, you know.
They
Uh,
being prospective clients.
yes.
Yeah,
Um, you know, we're getting hit up for random things like buy this set of press-on nails, random things that pop
not
up
me.
in the feed, but it's all the time, and
Mhm,
you're just like your brain is full. So you again, I'm going back to this, you have to have a human connection. We are not marketing to the whole world.
mhm,
We don't need to be in people's feed in that capacity. We're not selling 2.99 nails, having them shipped from some other country. We are Rutherford County. We have people here. This is where we live. This is where we work. These are our people. I have chosen to stay in Rutherford County because I like it here.
mhm,
I had the opportunity to move back to Dallas at one point. Um, we it didn't work out. The job thing that my ex-husband was offered didn't work out. And I was so happy. I thought I would be really pleased to move back to Dallas because that's where my best friend's at. That's where my other friends are. But I have a whole life here. I have people, I have places, you know, I know where to get anything. And if I
mhm.
don't, I know who to contact to get it. And it's usually Jonathan because he's the I know a guy.
Yep. That's one of my goals. So then what if I'm if we have a book in Keller Williams' world called The One Thing, and the premise of the whole book is what is the one thing that I can do right now that makes everything else easier or unnecessary.
Okay.
And so if I'm a new agent coming into the business from what you've seen thus far, what is the one thing that's going to get me business the fastest?
Let me say this loudly and clearly. Build your database. Put as much information in each one of those contacts as you can. Put notes in there. Talk to people.
So I would amend that with build and use your database.
Well, you have to build it before you can use it.
Or maybe you're using it as you're building it.
Maybe that.
I, what I'm getting at is, and this is I think for me, I would agree with my one little amendment is that number one, most people don't realize how many people they know. That's number one.
Absolutely.
And number two, they certainly don't realize the power of their personal network. Um,
Yes.
but if you have this database and you never call them, you have this database and you never talk to them, you have this database and you never just simply ask them how they're doing, right? Or spend a little bit of time and effort letting them know what you do. And you met all of them. I was a teacher. You met everybody in your database when you were a teacher, and all they know you as is a teacher. And you've made this career change, and you never tell them, "Hey, I was a great teacher. Now I'm a great real estate agent."
Right.
That database is useless if you don't talk to them.
Yep.
So I would say build and use.
Your database gives you a solid foundation. And, because you already know these people, you've met them at some point. It's not like you're collecting contacts from Facebook or
Some random
some other
list or
random thing. These are people you know. You should be top of their mind when it comes to real estate.
but
So you
how
have to let them know that.
yes, but how do you make the change? And and hear me out on this, especially in Rutherford County. If you've lived here more than about 6 weeks, you've met, like,
15,
oh my word,
20,000
yes,
realtors.
so many realtors.
Yeah.
How do you get to them that, "Yes, I know you know blank, 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 and blank, but you should talk to me."
If I had that answer, I would probably become a real estate agent because that seems to be the magic solve.
That's a
I
tough
I
one, isn't it?
don't I don't know that.
Well, how would you do it? So if you're on the receiving end of that, and I know you know a ton of agents, and you knew a ton of agents before you ever worked for me.
I did.
Um, what was the defining? Pretend I never entered the picture, right? I'm sure in your mind right now, if you had the opportunity to refer someone or whatever, you had an agent in mind. What made that agent the person that you would have referred out of the 50 that you probably knew?
You oh, I knew a lot more than that probably, but, um, the person who comes to mind, and I feel like I can say his name because you know him, we know him, is Robert Morris, and the reason for that is because I worked at the board excuse me, and Robert seemed like he knew what he was doing,
He does for sure.
and
Robert's a great agent.
right, and he's stylish, and he's unique, and that's uh, unique is what I look for in all of my relationships, all of my friendships, y you know, and that's, to me, what Robert
But and
offers.
Robert is also ethical and principled,
Right.
and he knows what the crap he's doing.
Yes, and I feel like Robert would absolutely be on my side
Mhm.
rather than, looking through the I don't know, I don't know, I don't wanna name just if I found a name off the internet.
Just random.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't know that person.
What do you say to people and pretend that you don't know them, right? So you can't pick at them a little bit, which is what I would typically do, right?
Yeah.
But what do you say to the people that get on and you see this about once a month? I call it the realtor roll call, right? You get on Facebook, on Hip, whatever, and does anybody know a great realtor?
Oh my
Oh my word.
gracious, that makes me crazy.
What do you say to somebody like that? What would you say if you kind of categorize your friends a second tier friend, right? Like not your inner circle, but like the
Right,
next level. You know them. You'd say hi to them in the grocery store. You might even go have a beer with them, right? That person,
right.
and you see them do a realtor roll call post. What do you say to that person?
First of all, I would not post on that post.
Sure.
I would because if I know you well enough to have your phone number and send you a text message, then I'm probably going to send you a text. And I'm gonna say, "Hey, I saw your post asking for realtors, and I just wanted to let you know you know" well, at this point, I'd be like, I work for a real estate team, and I know that will treat you right because Jonathan treats people fairly, and he will have your best interest in mind. And the other thing, he'll listen to what you want. He's not gonna send you on a wild goose chase and try to show you a bunch of homes that are out of your price range or, you want 4 bedrooms and he shows you the 3. He won't do that. That's
See,
just a waste of time, and he won't do that.
I would say something completely different. And here's what I
Well,
would say. I would say,
I'm not a salesperson
no,
in
no, no,
this
no, no. I'm not. I'm not.
regard.
I would start with, don't hire me. Okay.
Yeah,
And then I would say this. I'm purely curious about this. Okay. Are you really going to hire one of the 9 million people that is the most amazing realtor ever, according to the 9 million responses you got in here? Like, is that how you typically find the expert that's going to help you with a massively important financial decision. I'm curious about that. I'm really curious how
See,
many
y'all,
people do
this
that.
is why he sells real estate and I'm the chaos juggler and the glue. That's why he's the salesman.
I I I mean, Trent, you chime in on this. Is that not something that you would be curious about? Like how many times when people post that question, which
Is
it's
all the time.
all
often,
the time.
how many times does that laundry list of agents that everybody says every single agent listed on there, everybody says is amazing, right?
Right.
How many times does that result in that person hiring one of those people?
Man, I don't know.
Probably 0.
Pretty. I mean, actually, it probably will be one of them.
But how do you
Maybe one.
pick,
I mean,
right?
statistically
'Cause
speaking,
yeah,
probably. But yeah, how do
but
you
Then they
pick?
do internet research.
Yeah, that's
That's what
probably
they
it.
do.
on
Yeah.
every single one of them?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
No,
then you line
they
up the appointment and
they
talk to them, all that.
they pick the top, 3. Say Jonathan Harmon is listed on that post, 10 times, and Bill Jakes is listed 10 times, and George Weeks is listed 10
You
times.
put me in good company.
Of course I do. I know the players in the game.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to research each one of those people. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna have a conversation with each one of them. Um, before I call them, I'm going to see what's going on online. I'm gonna see if anybody's saying something bad about them, or, and sometimes, depending on my mood, if the bad stuff is at the top, I'll go down a little further and say, "Well, maybe he was having a bad moment." If it's like 1 or 2 negative things, but then I'm gonna reach out and I wanna have a conversation with you. I wanna see if you're on my wavelength. It's personal. This is the biggest purchase many people are going to make in their lifetime.
Sure.
Not all of them, but a lot of
And you
them.
do have to,
You have to
I mean,
get
you have to get
along with
along.
them.
Yeah, but you also have
Yeah.
to be able to trust that they're going to fight for you.
Well, if I don't like them and I don't feel personally connected to them in any way, shape, or form when I have that phone call,
Moving on.
I'm gonna mark them off the list and I'm gonna move on.
Mhm.
Because I am exacting when it comes to these type of things. I am precise. I am particular. If I tell you certain things, by God, you better not waste my time if it does not have these things.
Mhm.
These are my things. Don't go outside this list.
Sure.
And I tell you what I need. You know that about me. Like, if I send you questions, these are the questions I have. If I have comments, these are my comments.
Yeah.
I don't leave gray area because I don't want to waste anybody's time, mine or the agent.
Gotcha. Let's shift gears a little bit.
Sure.
And what are some of the things that we have going on the team right now? Some initiatives that we've taken, some things that we're doing that you want people to be aware of.
Um,
Some upcoming events, some like
yeah,
longer term planned out
I'm
events, that kind of thing.
I'm trying to I was trying to think what I wanted to talk about. Definitely most pressing, like on July 10th, we're having Real Estate Investing 201. If you have ever considered any kind of real estate investing, you should come
That's 1
because,
week from today, folks.
yes, yes. And contact me, please, if you need the sign up because we want to know you're coming.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, on August 7th, Tom Coates, the very esteemed Tom Coates,
And dashingly handsome, I must say.
of
Yes.
course, is going
Fellow
to
bald guy with a beard.
he's going to teach. We have a pitch practice and networking event once a quarter, and I reached out to Tom, and he's gonna teach the one on August 7th.
So pause there. Let's talk about each of those events. So the 201 class has a panelist or has a
3.
panel of 3
Yep.
people.
Mhm.
And let's see, this one we've got Matthew Chase and Grant Hammond and Nick Howell are going to be on our panel. all active and doing the work right now, doing real estate investing, some flips, some new construction stuff, some short term rental stuff, some long term rental stuff. Matthew does lending for those types of things and portfolio management and stuff like that. So if you have questions about getting into real estate investing at all, whether it is flips or short term or long term or whatever, or even just questions about it, like you don't necessarily want to do it, but you're intrigued by it,
Yeah.
it's an event for you. So we'll spend about 2 hours um, talking a little bit, asking them questions. I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions. They'll do a little teaching, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask those questions. So that's this coming Monday, a week from today,
Yes,
at
from 6 to 8 p.m.
Cedar Glade
at
Brews.
Cedar Glade Brews,
Mm,
which is 906 Ridgely Road,
That's right.
and that is behind
It is
Chewy's.
immediately behind Chewy's.
It's parking lot adjacent.
That's it. So that's a fun event. The pitch practice. This is born out of some stuff that the chamber already does.
It's born out of Michelle feeling like a goofball.
Yeah, I dig it though. So in life you pitch. In life you are constantly pitching an idea and hoping that somebody jumps on board, whether it's to
Sure.
your 5-year-old, whether it's to your spouse, whether it's to somebody that you're negotiating for a new shed, whether it's in real estate.
He seems like he's negotiated a shed before, guys.
I
What do you
I
think?
have recently and did okay, but they did
All
okay
right,
too,
all right.
right? Whether whatever it is, in everything that you do, you pitch. You pitch ideas, you pitch um, you know, your wants and needs, right? And so this is effective pitching, if you will.
Yes,
And again, this was born out of something that the chamber does, which is called the
the
pitch.
pitch.
And
Yes.
during the pitch, it's like a round table um, going around the room, pitching your business to a group of like-minded individuals in different businesses. So this is, how do you build a better pitch? How do you
Right.
practice that? How do you do better at pitching? And Tom Coates teaches personal selling and what's it called? Um,
I'm drawing a blank.
he
He's
teaches
the
salesmanship.
director of the College of
It's the center
the
for
Center for
Tom. I'm sorry,
Professional Selling. Tom, I do
something
apologize. Yeah,
something along those
at
lines.
MTSU.
Anyway, he is a master salesman,
Absolutely.
and he teaches others how to do that.
Yes. And I'm
We'll get your title right, I
ecstatic.
promise.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic to have Tom come and talk to us. Should I tell my story about how it was born, or do you not want me to do that?
Go for it.
Okay. Okay, so I went to my first pitch with the chamber in December or January, this past one, and I got up and I was all excited. I'd written out and typed up what I was gonna say, and I had it down, and it was close to 1 minute, and I was like, "Cool, I've got this." And I got up and I was like, "I'm Michelle
Just
Reeves,
froze.
and I'm on J Harmon Home Team, and I'm their executive assistant." And I think I sat down at that point. Not quite that bad, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was a total failure." And so, me being me, I fretted over it drastically, and I kept doing it. I kept rewriting it, and then I pitched Jonathan on having a class called Pitch Practice and Networking, and Jonathan was like, "Let's do it." And so I started really researching how to do it and what makes a good pitch, and I'm great in theory. Sometimes when the lights are on and I'm in front of the group, I freeze up on pitches, but
Mhm.
that's different. Like, if there was a lull in something in front of 10,000 people, you could hand me the mic and I'd be like, "Let's do this."
Well, and I think
That's different though.
I think that goes back to what we were talking about before, and that is you've got to just start.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
you gotta just start, right? So,
Yep.
and you're and set your expectations realistically. You're gonna
Yes.
probably suck at it at the beginning, right? And that's
Yeah.
okay, but you gotta start.
If you can do it, and I know this sounds really stupid because I thought, "I'm not gonna do this," but if you can do it, looking at yourself in the mirror, there is nothing more terrifying than doing that and seeing your facial expressions and seeing the, moment when you freeze up. If you
Mhm.
can do it in front of the mirror, then you can do it in front of the people.
Yeah, I disagree with
It
that.
Really? Do
Oh,
you
yeah,
really? Oh
absolutely.
gosh.
That
I'm
not me. I would rather, like, I don't re-listen to hardly any of these episodes. I probably should, but I don't. And I just
I listen to my podcast episodes.
I hate it. I hate it, everything about it.
Maybe I'm vain, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's vanity. I think it's probably more vain to not listen to it and just assume that it's fine,
That's what
you know?
Johnny Depp does, so you're in good company there. He doesn't
Yeah.
watch his movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm let me think on that one for a minute.
Jonathan, Johnny Depp.
All right, next thing, what we also have a few other things coming up. So
Yes.
we're talking about our hero and teacher. You mentioned that a couple times.
Yes.
So we, as a team, we honor a hero of the month and a teacher of the month every single month, and so we're collecting nominations for that. Um, the hero is an interesting, we all know teachers of the month. There's so many good educators, great educators here in Rutherford County. And it's not just the county teachers, it's the city teachers, it's the private school teachers, it's the MTSU professors. Even some of the homeschool teachers, the people that are doing
Yep.
that work. There's a lot of good education here in Rutherford County. So that's one. The other one, it's a little harder. If somebody were to tell me that you're a hero, right? If they use that term, I'm gonna get really uncomfortable. Like, I don't
If
like.
somebody called you a
Yeah.
hero,
Yeah, it's
that
uncomfortable.
that makes almost everyone uncomfortable.
But the reality is there's a lot of heroic stuff happening in this county. E
Sure.
Everything from our first responders to our military community. Sure, right? That's what a lot of people immediately go to. But also the nonprofits, the people that are just picking up the slack somewhere, the people that are helping folks that are forgotten, the
The
people.
people who are orchestrating change,
Yeah.
um, and the one who brings that to mind for me is Erica Downing,
Mhm.
and she won our Hero of the Month last month. She orchestrates change in a community that needs more help. That's not the right word, but needs her to be there orchestrating
Well,
change.
and I would say that I would use a slightly different word and semantics basically, but she facilitates change. Because in a lot of cases, the people that
I just think the word orchestrates is
it's a good word,
frillier.
but she doesn't necessarily start it, and she doesn't necessarily direct it. What she does is somebody says, "It's time," and she gives them the way to do it. So, she can't necessarily make someone leave the situations that she helps people in. They have to take that step. And so when they take that step, "Hey, it's time for me to change something." And when they do that,
Yeah, I think they're already there, you know?
that's what I'm saying. And so
Yeah,
she says, "Okay, now that you've taken that step and you've come here, let me help you get the rest of the way." And
okay.
so to me, that's the the heroes in there. She 100% is, but the heroes are also the people that
The
finally
staff
say, well,
also. Oh, yeah,
and the
the people
clients
who leave.
that
Yeah,
finally say, "Holy cow, it is enough," and
yeah.
I've got to do something really scary. Which what's really scary is leaving.
The bad situation.
Yes, and I have
Absolutely.
no idea what's going to happen on the other side of it.
Yeah,
Right? That is heroic, right? That is
absolutely.
somebody that has
Yeah.
said, "Enough is enough. I've got to make a change." And then she takes them from that point where they've made that humongous first step and says, "Okay, now step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5."
Right.
And that's, I mean, that's massive, right? So she's there waiting for someone to do it. And in the meantime, she's helping grease the wheels for somebody to take that first step.
Right, right.
Yeah. She's pretty impressive. That whole organization is. So
Sorry, I'm beeping.
that's all right. What else do we have coming up? We've got our pumpkin carving contest or pumpkin carving event that comes up for all of our past clients. We've got our parade watch
That's
party.
on October 22nd.
Yep, parade watch party. And where I was going with the hero and teacher thing. Sorry, I've had too much caffeine today, so my brain's a little crazy.
Mine hasn't fully kicked in, I think.
Is we've got a party coming up in November, and we're going to have all of our past heroes and teachers, and all the people that participate in the hero and teacher of the month. We're going to have them all come together and get to meet each other finally. And I am super, super excited about this. Michelle and I have talked about it in theory, and I just told her just now
Just right
that we're
now.
doing it.
If I looked weird, that's why.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So we've got 17 businesses that participate in the hero and teacher. We're going to invite them all to come, and all of our past recipients of the heroes and teachers of the month awards. And we're just going to have an opportunity for great teachers, community heroes, and the people that support them all to meet each other. And I'm pumped about that.
I think it'll be really cool.
It's going to be great.
I'm sure if you would have asked me after I knew about this, I'd be like, I'm so pumped about this.
Yep, I wanted
I
your
am
reaction.
excited, though.
Yep.
It's cool.
So anyway, if you know somebody that's doing the great work, make sure you nominate them through jharmonhometeam.com. Michelle, what else is going on? Anything that you want to plug?
No.
Trent, you got anything you want to plug?
No.
You guys are
We're just
awesome.
full of nothing right now.
That's awesome. All right. Well, that's all I got as well. Thanks for watching. If you need help with real estate, we never talked about Brian, did we?
I was going to say, don't we want to plug Brian?
Of course we want to plug Brian.
One job. That's me.
I know. So Brian Nail over
Like
at
the
Premise
cheese
Mortgage,
on the
he is
trolley.
one of our big supporters. He also happens to be our favorite lender and does good work in the community here. So Brian, let's roll tape on him real quick, and then we'll close it out.
Hey, my name is Brian Nail. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Premise Bank Mortgage. I want to tell you that I absolutely love being a member of the Spread the Positive Network. It's such a great mission. It helps bring so much positivity to our community. It's truly a pleasure to be part of. There are a lot of ways to navigate financing a home, and in markets like this, having the advice of a trusted local professional is key to making sure you get the right advice for your specific circumstances. Whether you're interested in the purchase of a new home, second home, or have a need for a refinance, I'd love to earn your trust. If I can help you nail your mortgage, call me at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com.
Premise Mortgage is a subsidiary of Premise Bank, a member FDIC, equal housing opportunity. As always, all loans are subject to approval. Premise Mortgage, NMLS number 1894879.
Single week right there. That's it. Let's nail your mortgage. I love that guy. So anyway, thank you, Brian. If you have real estate needs, give me a shout. If you have mortgage needs, give Brian a shout. If you have questions about getting into real estate, give Michelle or myself a shout, and we'll be happy to help you with that. And don't forget,
Are you going to drop your phone number?
Nominate. It's in the. He can put it in the
Oh,
comments.
okay.
If you want to nominate, if you know a great teacher that deserves it, or a great hero here in our community, or even just a small hero, right? Somebody that's doing it totally behind the scenes, and we need to put some light on what's going right with that, definitely let us know.
That's right.
That's it. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.